We are just days into 2026, and already there's some tomfoolery going on in and around the world of game collecting. What else is new? What feels like every couple months or so, some new development on the internet usually ends up pushing an otherwise random game's value into the stratosphere, talking like 5x, 10x the price on the secondhand market. We saw it last year with Piglet's Big Game, which was really weird and pretty funny, and 2 years ago with Alien Resurrection on the PS1, which had a huge spike. And right now we are seeing what appears to be the latest example, the physical release of Star Wars Racer Revenge for the PS4. In mid-December of 2025, this game was selling for like $20 to $30. But now we're looking at somewhere closer to $200 to $300. And this basically happened overnight. And unlike those two games I just mentioned, Star Wars is rising in price for a much more dubious reason. I'll get into all of that and more in this video, so let's dive right in and get to the bottom of this. What is going on, everyone? It is Evan back. We're talking about game prices again because this stuff just is really interesting to me, and I always wonder, why do games get so expensive and how long will it last? That's always the first question that comes to mind, and we're going to be talking about it in this video. Before I get into it, I want to ask you though, do you have any games in your collection that have sharply risen in price over the years, or just one day you looked at your game tracking app or at your collection or price charting and you're like, wow, what happened? I got this game for so cheap and now it is valuable. And did you keep it? Do you still have it? Did you sell it? I get both reasons, so let me know down in the comments. Really quick, I will ask if you enjoy this video and videos like it, talking about game collectings and markets and whatnot. Hit that subscribe button because there's plenty more on the way. With that, let's go. Setting the stage super quick here, released in 2002, Star Wars Racer Revenge is the sequel to 1999's Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which came out on N64, Dreamcast, and PC. Actually, not the PS1, which was weird. However, Revenge made up for it because it only ever remained a PS2 exclusive. Well, for a long time. Back in the day, the game got decent enough reviews, and I played it for this video, and I had a actually pretty good time. I played it for about an hour, and it feels like a little bit of an F-Zero light. I only used the normal control setup, which is rather basic. I know there's an advanced controls option where you can use each control stick to control the individual engines on the pod racer. That's pretty cool. I didn't get into that, but overall I liked the game. And like I said, it remained a PS2 exclusive until 2015, when it came to the PS3 digital storefront, and 1 year later it came to PS4. But our story doesn't really begin until October 18th, 2019. When, guess who, Limited Run Games announced a physical release of Revenge on PS4. You could grab a standard copy for about $35 to $40 and a premium edition for $75. Now, I wasn't following Limited Run very closely at the time, but from all of the information I could find, it seems this one didn't pick up a ton of traction. Official data from LRG's Discord suggests that only about 8,500 copies were ever produced between the standard, premium, and there was one more run a little bit later that they did. 8,500 copies total. And for a long time, that was basically the end of the story. Sure, supply was small, but demand was almost non-existent. I don't know if people just didn't have nostalgia for this game the way that they did for the first one. I hear people talk about that one a lot more, but Revenge just didn't get the same treatment as a lot of other modern Star Wars ports. This game didn't even come to Switch, which is really surprising. Unlike pretty much every PS2 era Star Wars game, and you know it's bad when they're leaving you out of the Heritage Pack. I mean, there's basically everything else here except for the second Racer game. At one point, Limited Run was clearing out these PS4 copies on their website for $14.99, and that should have been the end of the story. But then we saw this happen.
It's a trap!
After days of cryptic teases on X or Twitter or whatever the hell we're calling it this week, PlayStation 5 jailbreak developer Jezine, I'm gonna say Jezine, posted this update about a new method to break the system. Quote, "There will be Battle Royale for PS5 12.0 poops. Good luck getting it. Digital PS5 cannot attend Battle Royale. You are Now, I'm not really going to get into the specifics of how a PS5 jailbreak works. This video is more or less about the game, not really about the hacks. I'm not into the stuff, but I'm also not here to be the morality police. Do what you want. It's your console, it's your life. Anyway, there was a ton of speculation about what the it might be, but just one day later, they revealed the it to be, you guessed it, Star Wars Racer Revenge for the PS4, that limited run physical copy. The game contains an apparent bug in the Hall of Fame feature, just the leaderboard, which allows unsigned code to be injected into the PS5 at firmware 12.0. Jezine demonstrated this by clicking into the Hall of Fame and entering a PS5 debug screen with the message, Now, it's important to note that this is not a full consumer level jailbreak. It's mainly a way for devs to have an entry point into the system's debug menu. But still, things moved really fast after this. There definitely was a widespread belief that this was the way to jailbreak your PS5, and word spread like wildfire across social media. Soon you had Wario64 posting about the game shortly after New Year's Eve Eastern time. I remember seeing this and thinking, why is he posting this game? But putting it all into perspective, in the days leading up to the boom, standard copies of Revenge were regularly selling on eBay from anywhere between $25 to $45. They varied per sale, but generally this is a very cheap game for only having less than 10,000 copies in the wild. And at the time I'm writing this, I'm seeing eBay sold listings selling between $160, $170 up to $300. In the span of just hours, the price of this game jumped by over 10 times. Imagine if you were an unlucky buyer. You were looking at buying this game, but you just haven't pulled the trigger yet. You want it in your collection, but you procrastinated just a bit too much, and now it's $300. I'm sure that happened to somebody out there. It's absolutely insane, and just kind of a little microcosm of the modern internet-driven video game collection scene right now. Can I really talk? No, but it's true. And so that brings us to the main and final question of this video. Is this just a bubble? Well, the short answer is yeah. Of course it's a bubble, but let me dig a little bit deeper and use some history to explain to you exactly why. Now, remember those two games I mentioned at the beginning of the video? It was Piglet's Big Game and Alien Resurrection on PS1. Both of those games had distinct reasons for their prices going way, way up. Piglet was a viral sensation in late 2024 when people began realizing that one of its levels was like a mini Silent Hill game, but with Winnie the Pooh characters. It was an awesome discovery, rightfully hilarious, but the price jump was quite extreme. Alien Resurrection was the subject of a fantastic video for Modern Vintage Gamer, in which he discovered a hidden exploit which allowed the game to be used as a boot disk to play import and backup PS1 games on US systems. Overall though, both of these games had distinctly different reasons for their overnight price explosion. Okay, Alien is kind of similar, but there's a much better comparison I'm going to tell you about in just 1 second, so hold on. That game will tell us almost exactly how Star Wars Racer is going to trend, how this game will age in this new 2026 era where it is insanely expensive all of a sudden. And it also is a signal of why you shouldn't drop $150, $200, $300 on this game right now. And that game is Cubic Ninja on the 3DS. You knew this was coming, right? Hitting store shelves in April of 2011, Cubic Ninja was widely considered to be an aggressively mediocre release within the 3DS's launch window. It faded into relative obscurity until 2014, when homebrew developers unveiled Ninja Hacks. This was an extremely popular way to get homebrew on your 3DS by way of a broken QR code feature in Cubic Ninja. Just put the boot files on an SD card, pop it in your 3DS, scan a certain code, and you were golden. You could run whatever you wanted. This was the first widely available way to hack your 3DS, and just like we're seeing now with Racer, demand went through the roof. Complete in-box copies went from about $5 to $25, then $35, peaking out at nearly $70 for a game that was in bargain bins and at Five Belows. Trust me, I know, I saw it at Five Below, and I didn't buy it. However, as time went on, people discovered other ways to hack their 3DS, and Cubic Ninja slowly became irrelevant once again. Taking a look at Cubic Ninja's price history, this graph, it's almost back to where it was before the Ninja Hacks boom. The price difference right now is more telling of overall inflation than market-driven demand for Cubic Ninja. So the situation with Racer Revenge, it's almost exactly the same as what happened here. The only thing that sets Star Wars apart, and I do think there is a little bit of variance to be had with this, I think it could impact the price a little bit, is just the quantity of the game. It's way more scarce than Cubic Ninja ever was. At least that game actually hit store shelves and got a full retail release. LRG games in general tend to hold their value simply just due to their nature of their production. And as I said before, LRG says there's only about 8,500 copies of this out there, which is a very, very small run. But still, I think Racer will eventually follow this same trend line as Cubic Ninja. The game is a gateway to hacking a console, but right now it's near inevitable that another easier method will come along over time for the PS5, just like it did for the 3DS. And when that happens, I'm sure a lot of people will be quick to offload their copies of Star Wars. And I know for sure there's already some people who are just trying to take advantage right now. So if you're trying to add this one to your collection, I really don't think it's too late. Just hold the line for a little bit and you should be okay. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe. And let me know again in the comments, do you have any games in your collection that got really expensive out of nowhere? I know for me, I've talked about this game on the channel before, but Towerfall on the Switch, I bought that game at a retro game store for $35, and now it's pushing $100 in value. It's, again, another limited run, but it's just crazy. That game, I used to see it everywhere. Now I see it nowhere. So that's my example. Let me know down in the comments what yours is. Anyways, guys, until the next video, I hope you enjoyed this quick one, and I will see you later. Have a happy new year, everyone. Thank you for watching.